So today, March 13, 2026, let's continue to discuss on the discourse Vamika Sutta. The teacher asks his student to dig up the mound persistently. So digging up the mound persistently means initiating an effort in the practice. When the student digged the mound, what he found is he found a door bolt. And he told his teacher, "Oh teacher, here I found bolt, door bolt." So what is that door bolt means? Venerable Kumara Kassapa asked the Buddha, and the Buddha replied to him that door bolt is avijjā, ignorance, not knowing. So to apply effort, we should first know the method of the practice. If we do not know the method of the practice, then there is no way of applying effort. So here, bolt means avijjā, ignorance, not knowing. Avijjā, not knowing the Four Noble Truths. The truth of suffering, the truth of a cause of suffering, the truth of the cessation of suffering, and the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. So, not knowing the Four Noble Truths is avijjā, ignorance. And this truth of suffering, this truth of suffering is something that we can find in our own body. In our own body. The all physical and mental phenomena appearing, all physical and mental phenomena occurring in the six sense doors are the truth of suffering. Every time when we see something, that is truth of suffering. When we hear some sound, that is also the truth of suffering. Smelling, tasting, touching, thinking, imagining, sitting, standing, rising, falling, stepping, lifting, moving, placing, bending, stretching. These all are the truth of suffering. And if we do not know these psychophysical phenomena occurring every moment, then that unknowing is avijjā. So avijjā, ignorance, has the characteristic of not knowing, unknowing, not knowing what should be known. that is avijjā. And when avijjā, ignorance, is there, we cannot see the real nature of the object. We cannot see the real nature of the objects because this ignorance conceals the nature of object. And this ignorance is a mental blindness. We become blind when there is ignorance. So it is compared with the eye cataract. When the eye cataract is very thick, we will not see anything. So ignorance, avijjā, which is the mental blindness, conceals the very true nature of the things, nature of the objects, and it is also compared as a darkness. Avijjā, ignorance, is compared with a darkness. At night time, if there is no light in the room, then we cannot see anything. Though we have very good eyes, we cannot see anything. So too, when we have that thick layers of avijjā, ignorance, then we will not be able to see the very true natures, the real natures of the objects. So that type of avijjā, ignorance, is compared with a bolt. And this type of avijjā, ignorance, is of two kinds. The first one is apatipatti avijjā, that is simply not knowing. And the second one is micchā patipatti avijjā, knowing wrongly. Unknowing and knowing wrongly. So there are two kinds of ignorance, avijjā. Simple unknowing is apatipatti avijjā, and knowing in opposite way, knowing wrongly, that is micchā patipatti avijjā. All the physical and mental phenomena in our body are suffering. They appear and disappear. So they are all suffering. But we don't think they are suffering. All the phenomena, all the physical and mental phenomena occurring in our body, we think that it is very desirable, it is very pleasant, because we didn't see the appearance and disappearance of this phenomena. So we think, oh, it is good, it is very pleasant. But it is not. It is very painful. So not knowing that painful nature of this physical and mental phenomena in our body is the simply unknowing. And sometimes we think, the most of the beings think that these physical and mental phenomena are very blissful, very good. So think in that wrong way. knowing in that wrong way, thinking in that wrong way is miccha patipati avijjā. So ignorance, avijjā, is of two kinds. And here, avijjā, not knowing the Four Noble Truths, that type of ignorance can be dispelled, can be eradicated only by insight knowledge and path and fruition knowledge. Insight knowledge expels this type of ignorance in the this type of ignorance momentarily, and path and fruition knowledge expels this type of ignorance completely. So when we gain this insight knowledge and path and fruition knowledge, the ignorance on the Four Noble Truths will be dispelled. But here, in this discourse, I will explain a bit more. This knowing wrongly is compared with a green colored eyeglasses. A horse is horse wearing the green color spectacles thinks the dry grass as a green fresh grass. So thinking in another way, thinking in mistakes in the wrong way, mistakes, taking in opposite way, that is miccha patipati avijjā. So all beings, most of the beings, almost all beings in the world are wearing that green spectacles. Therefore, they didn't see the real nature of psychophysical phenomena. They didn't see the truth of suffering as it is. They see them as very pleasant, very good, very blissful. So that is ignorance, avijjā, and it should be dispelled by vipassana knowledge and path and fruition knowledge. But in this discourse, Vamika Sutta, ignorance, a bolt, symbolizes ignorance, and that ignorance is not the ignorance just we discussed. Here the ignorance is just a simple ignorance, not knowing the method of practice, not knowing the technique of practice. So that is the bolt, the door bolt. And that type of ignorance can be expelled by learning and reflecting. By learning and reflecting, the knowledge of learning and the reflecting can dispel this type of ignorance. So, how to practice this vipassana meditation? When we come to the retreat, at the very first day, we listen the instructions. We listen the instruction. Listening instructions mean learning the method of practice. If we do not know the method of practice, then we won't be able to practice. We won't be able to practice. If we won't be able to practice, then we won't be able to eradicate the ignorance that conceals the true nature of the psychophysical phenomena. So we need to know the method of practice. And for that, we are listening the instructions. Not only listening the instructions, every day we are listening the Dhamma talks. So listening instructions and listening Dhamma talks is learning the method of practice. And though we have a desire, very strong desire to attain the highest Dhamma, if we don't know the path to that highest Dhamma, the path that leads to the highest Dhamma, then we won't be able to practice. That path now we learned from the Buddha. The Buddha has taught the path that leads to the liberation. The Buddha, when he left his palace, he did not know this path yet. So he went to the teachers. He went to two teachers. One is Alara Kalama and the second teacher is Udakarama Buddha. And these two teachers are very famous teachers at that time. They teach what they know. They teach the Buddha about the jhana absorption. One has attained the seventh jhana, and the second one, teacher Udakarama Putra, has attained the eighth jhana. So both of them taught the Buddha about the jhana, but they don't know the path that leads to the cessation of all the sufferings. They only know the path that leads to the Brahma world. They only know about the jhana. Therefore, later the Buddha, he himself figured out the method that made him enlightened. So the Buddha, Samma Sambuddha, he is awakened, he is enlightened, not learning from other teachers, but he learned by himself. And what he learned is also the correct dhammas, not the wrong dhammas, the correct dhammas. And that dhammas he learned, he attained, he taught the all beings. So the Buddha has opened the door for us. The Buddha has opened the door for us. If the Buddha hasn't expounded this Satipatthana Dhamma to the beings, then the door will be always closed for all of us. Now the Buddha has expounded the Dhamma and we learn it. That means the door is now open. So not knowing the method of practice should be expelled by listening, by learning and discussing. Learning and discussing. And that type of knowledge, the knowledge of the practice, once we learn it, the door is open, and we also need to try to keep this door open all the time. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha mentioned, if you are going, you should know going. If you are sitting, you should know sitting. Standing, you should know standing. And lying down, you should know lying down. Again, in the session of clear comprehension, the Buddha mentioned that while going forward and backward, one should do with knowledge. When looking straight ahead or sideways, when bending, stretching, eating, chewing, and drinking, so whether standing, sitting, everything one should do with the knowledge. So one should always dwell in observing this every actions, every objects, every nama rupa occurring at that moment. So that method now we have learned. If that method we haven't learned yet, then the door is closed for us. In the house or in the temples, if the door is closed, nobody can go in or out. So too, if the door is closed, then we cannot practice, though we have a desire to practice. Now the door is open, so we need to continue. We need to keep door opening all the time. What does this mean? That sometimes we learn the method and we start to practice, but there may be some other people who try to disturb us, who try to distract us. What it means that during Buddha's time, there are many bhikkhunis who are arhants. And many of them, after the lunch, they went to the forest and they tried to spend the rest of the day at the forest practicing the Dhamma. But there is a Mara, evil. The Mara wants to disturb them. The Mara try to make them, try to break their concentration. So sometimes he come to the female monks, the bhikkhunis, and he would say that, oh, there is no such a thing like Nibbana. So there is no Nibbana, so why do you staying here in this forest? You try to enjoy the sensual pleasures. You try to enjoy the sensual pleasures. If you do not enjoy now, it would be late and you will regret. So do not regret later. Try to enjoy now, because there is no such Dhamma, such thing like the cessation of the sufferings. There is no escape from this world. The Mara, evil deva try to distract the bhikkhunis, the female monks. But those bhikkhunis are arahants, so they notice, oh, this is not a good person. This Mara wants to make me feel fear, and this Mara wants to break my concentration. So they would reply, there is a nibbana, the cessation of all sufferings. There is escape in the world, and I have already realized that. I have personally experienced that. Oh Mara, you haven't experienced yet because you are very negligent. So you haven't experienced it. Therefore, you are talking about the sensual pleasures. The sensual pleasures are like swords, and this body is like a chopping board. So we already have cut off that sensual pleasures and already experienced that goal, that nibbana. So when the female monks replied to Mara, the Mara just leave that place. So sometimes there might be that kind of distractions, disturbances. Therefore, when we learn the method of the practice, we need to stick in that method. We need to continue practicing so that we could gain the knowledge. We could gain the knowledge, we could attain the highest Dhamma. Then if any distractions, disturbances arises, we can overcome it. We won't be affected by those things. That's what the Buddha explained. So a door bolt is avijjā, ignorance, and that ignorance is not knowing the method of practice. Not knowing the method here means the vipassana method, the satipatthana method. Not knowing how to do satipatthana practice or how to do vipassana practice. That type of ignorance should be expelled by listening, uggaha, listening, and also, uggaha, learning, and also discussing. So discussing sakatsa means we just sit down and discuss about it for hours and hours. The discussing here means that reporting the experiences from the meditation to the teachers so that we can gain more and more guidance if needed. So discussion means here we say interview. Interview means not interviewing, what are you doing, how are you, something like that. Interviewing means reporting here, discussing about one's practice, telling or reporting one's experience, what one have experienced in sitting meditation, in walking meditation, and in daily activities, and how when the objects appears, how he handled those objects. So that reporting that way is the meaning of discussion. So the teacher asks student, oh, if you found a bolt, then remove that bolt. Throw away that bolt. So throwing away the bolt or removing a bolt means to dispel the ignorance of not knowing the method of a practice. And how to dispel this ignorance of not knowing the method of practice? By learning and by discussing. So that way we can remove the this bolt, ignorance bolt. So when the teacher asked his student to remove a bolt, then he removed. And the teacher again asked him, okay, then continue digging it. Don't stop. Continue digging that mound. So the student then start to dig that mound again. And when digging that mound, what he found is he found in Pali it is Uttu Maika, that is a kind of frog. The Uttu Maika translated as a bullfrog, a frog. So he found that bullfrog. That frog lives in the land, not in the water. And he told his teacher, oh teacher, now I found a Uttu Maika frog. Oh, here is a frog. So the Venerable Kumara Kassapa asked the Buddha, what is that frog? So first, what is the nature of that frog? We first discuss about that. Uttu Maika, a bullfrog. It lives in the land, and it, according to the commentary, this frog is actually a very small in size, just the hand nail size, very small, very, very small. And it lives in the bushes or leaves. And this type of frog, when tossed by a stick, a tip of the stick, it swells. If it tosses again, it swells more. So every time when it tossed by a tip of the stick or any other things, maybe the dust, it swells. It becomes bigger and bigger. So that type of frog is Uttu Maika frog, bull frog. And it becomes so big, so swollen that cannot move anymore. Its body become upside down. The four legs up and the back down, and cannot walk, cannot move. So at the end, other birds eat. Other birds take it as its food. So that type of frog is Uttu Maika. So what does it mean? The Buddha explained that Uttu Maika symbolizes dosa. anger. In Pali, it is said kota upayasa, means anger and cruelty. So this anger resembles that frog. So what is dosa? Dosa, anger. It has a characteristic of cruelty. It has the characteristic of ferocity. Means when anger arises, one becomes very fierce. So that type of dosa he found. Yeah. And why this dosa resembles this frog? Again, the commentary explain it that when anger arises, at first, the mind becomes unsteady. When anger arises, the mind becomes unsteady. And if we are unable to suppress that anger at that very moment, then it grows. It grows, so the nose now twitches. And again, if we are unable to suppress that anger at that very moment, then the chin begins to tremble. And if we fail to suppress it, then we utters very harsh speech. We slander others. And if we are again unable to suppress that anger at that very moment, then we looks here and there, searching for someone we hate. So we look here and there. And the anger slowly growing bigger and bigger. And again, if we are unable to suppress that anger, what happens is now the body body twitches. And again, if we cannot suppress that anger, then it grows again. Now we hold the stick or stone, some weapon, like a stick or a stone in our hand, because the anger is growing. And again, if we cannot suppress it, now we beat others. We beat others. Again, if we cannot suppress that anger, then at the end we kill others. After killing others, sometimes we killed ourselves too. That is how the anger, dosa, swells bit by bit, like a bullfrog. It swells bit by bit. Every time when it tossed, it becomes swollen. So too the anger. If we cannot suppress once that anger arises by the reasoning power, then the anger grows bigger and bigger. And at the end, sometimes we commit killing. killing others and killing oneself. Therefore, the Buddha said that this anger resembles this frog, Uttumaika bullfrog. So this anger, dosa, it has a nature of ferocity, and when anger arises in our mind, our appearance looks very fearful. When anger arises, then our eyes become red, body trembles, and this anger is compared with a cobra. It becomes very fearful. And because we cannot control the anger, once it arises, it spreads all over the body like a poison. When we put poison in the water, it spreads all over the water. So too, when there is anger, it spreads all over the body. Therefore, the body trembles. Even when we speak, our speech trembles. So, and this anger once occur, if we cannot control it, then we think about that unsatisfactory things again and again. Because of unwise attention, we try to recall what other people told us again and again. So the anger just grows bigger and bigger. Oh, he blamed me, he humiliated me, he destroyed my name, my fame, my business, and he did this and that to me. So just taking that things in our mind, recalling that again and again, thinking of that thing again and again, because of unwise attention, the anger grows bigger and bigger. Just like a frog swelling bigger and bigger. And the anger is like a boiling water. When the water is boiling on the stove, we cannot see the things very clearly. So too, when the anger boiling in our mind, we cannot see the things correctly. And when there is anger, the anger prevents us from doing the wholesome deeds. Therefore, the anger is also one of the hindrance, nivarana. Nivarana, what is the meaning of nivarana? Nivarana prevents the wholesomeness from occurring. Nivarana weakens the wisdom. Nivarana makes one blind. So when there is nivarana, when the mind is overwhelmed by this anger, then the wisdom will not arise. We will not able to do the wholesome deeds, especially this type of satipatthana practice, vipassana meditation, that leads us to the highest goal because of the anger. And this anger grows because of unwise attention. So the Buddha explained that the bullfrog means the anger, dosa. Here it is said the koda, the cruelty. And that type of anger prevents us prevents us to do this meditation. And how can we dispel that type of anger? Trying to be in the present, not recalling those unsatisfactory matters in our mind again and again, not paying attention to those incidents, the undesirable, unfavorable incidents, and trying to stay in the present, trying to focus on the presently arising objects. We can we can dispel this anger momentarily. And when we gain part and fruition knowledge, then we will be able to eradicate that anger completely. So that is the answer given by Buddha to Venerable Kassapa. So when the student told his teacher, I found here a bullfrog, then the teacher asked him that, okay, then remove that bullfrog. Throw away that bullfrog. Means we need to throw away the anger. We need to dispel and eradicate the anger. And the teacher asks him, now again you continue digging up that mound. So the student again dig up the mound constantly, and what he found is he found a road junction, Dvita Patha in Pali, the junction. So Venerable Kumara Kassapa asked the Buddha, Bhante, what is that Dvita Patha junction? And we discuss about this Dvita Patha tomorrow.